I dig into the programs of studies and the curriculum of each of the school and see what they are offering the student, because they are all public source. We can find it online.
Excuse me, you have about 1 minute to go.
Yeah. And wondered why those 4 courses are not offered in our school district. Why the other school districts think they are so important and they have it. So I wish we will put more budget into our academics rather than other area. After all, the good academic environment is the main reason attract the new families with kids moving into this town. There is an analysis shows that student count in our school district keeps dropping. We need to think of why. And if there's courses are missing from school because of the budget, can we learn from the other school district? If other school districts are willing to try their best to communicate with us to send their special need kids over, can we do the same? Outsource those AP tests to the other school district. Someone may suggest that there are similar AP tests that these kids can take. But you know, this are very specialized subject. I don't think so. It cannot be replaced. There are a lot of schools, training centers have summer school or certified program to teach this AP course. In this case, our school district does not need to worry about pay extra to hire the teacher and buy the new equipment if our budget is limited. And I learned from the past BOE board meeting, if we want to add any AP test into our programs, there will be a lot of rules and things involved, and it will take a long discussion and arrangement. But if we can let other school districts help, that will be a different story. AP Computer Science Principle, Java, AP Music Theory, AP Chinese, and all the other missing AP tests will have a chance to be available to our students. It will be a win-win solution to this long frustration in our school district. And I believe the parents are willing to pay extra for that, which may help the financial situation of our school district too. So please, our board members, take a serious discussion. Think of outsource those AP tests which we cannot offer to our students. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
Linda Dario, 46 Dykeman Place. Somebody mentioned that you were inviting students to the November 4th meeting, which is wonderful. I was wondering how you're promoting it to them. Are you using the announcements at school? How are they being informed about that? And how are you getting the word out on that? Because if you don't, they won't come. And it'd be great if they came, because as you can see from tonight and the woman that spoke, that's really why we're all here. So if you can let me know how you're doing that. And also, I would love to take Mr. Markarian up on his offer to help me understand the curriculum as soon as possible. If you want to send me Rubicon instructions or the actual curriculum would be easiest, as well as opt-out information, that would be very welcome. So, if that's all I have. If not, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Hong Po from 14 Grove Road, Basking Range. I would like to see that sometime in the near future, AP Chinese test can become available for our Ridge High School students. And I believe that this request has been raised by some other families since last year. And as of now, I don't think we have any progress or any positive response. We have received any. My kids goes to Huasha Chinese School in Bridgewater. I spoke to the principal in that Chinese school. Based on whatever she told me, that if any school district would like to host AP test, it's simply just purchase a set of I believe AP test, the test paper from College Board. I don't know how difficult this could be to our school district, comparing to that all the Chinese not all the Chinese family, but many Chinese families, they live in this town, they pay tax, but meanwhile that they spend extra time, money, efforts to send their kids to outside of school district like Bridgewater or any other Chinese training school to teach their kids their Chinese. After 10 years, every week, after sending their kids to school, and they just want to have a test. And how difficult this, and this type of test will really, will really benefit these kids after 9 or 10 years of study of their parents' language. So I think that, I really hope that this can be seriously discussed, and hopefully we can see this happening in our school. If that, I overheard people say that if a school district does not offer AP course, so AP test cannot be hosted in the school. If that is the case, then we should consider AP Chinese. We have all different type of foreign languages. I hope that Chinese can be treated or considered as same as other languages like French or Spanish or any other foreign languages. My second concern is about the kitchen expansion in our school district. I'm not sure if anybody has considered another option, like instead of having expanded that the kitchen so large, is it possible to consider that we have divided them into half? Maybe half of the students have the lunch from 12 to 1, and the second half goes to from 1 to 2. Would that kind of shrink the project half and save some money for a school district? The reason I'm putting this up is because I heard that elementary school, the enrollment in elementary school are decreasing. So we have to think that in the future, do we really need this big kitchen in high school? So, I mean, these are the two concerns. Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Donald from 46 Water Drive.
You can pull it out.
I'm Donald from 46 Water Drive. I just want to echo what Michelle just said. I think it's a great idea to outsource the AP class to other school districts that already have the infrastructure. It doesn't have to be limited to Chinese or computer science or music. I think whatever our kids have a desire to learn, we should offer them opportunity. I think it's our obligation to provide our kids opportunity to learn something that may be beneficial in their future life. As a parents, we have a full commitment to provide all the help we have, and I hope the school district can have the same obligation. Thank you.
My name is Vivian Young. I live in 1 Kindred Court. I grew up here, 9 years old. I don't know as much Chinese as these people, but my kids are learning Chinese. My neighbor asked me about Chinese. He's in sales. He's a regular Caucasian. He's in sales business. He is actually learning and trying to speak Mandarin to help his business. I have a swim team friend. My son is in swim team. They are from cross district. They're not in our district. She's doing business. She asked me, can I help her translate with some of the suppliers that she's looking. So I just want to emphasize that although we look like we're ganging up as a whole Chinese community trying to push for AP Chinese class. But I'm sure many of you would understand the criticality of the significance of the Chinese language being a world language, right? I would think many would agree. My son is only like 6th grade now. He's still far from AP. I agree that they spend so much effort in Chinese, learning it outside of the school. All of our parents are willing to pay extra because we don't have it here to take them on Saturday, 2 hours every week. And there's a lot of quiz and tests and everything. And they go through those, so I could see and appreciate that they want the kid to have that opportunity to get that AP test, to be recognized for the future, that is the US College Board certifying them that they have the AP level, right? And I know there's other tests and examination where they can get to get an international kind of level of agreement about their level of proficiency in speaking in Mandarin or writing in Mandarin. But I think my child being 6th grade, I still have time, but I also would like that to be implemented in elementary school. I've heard that there are Spanish parents in elementary school this year. Great that there's Spanish in elementary, because I moved from a district where we had originally Spanish in elementary. So this year with Spanish elementary, there are Spanish parents who probably prefer letting their kids learn a different language versus having their children sitting in Spanish. So I'm thinking maybe there's an option for those people who wouldn't want, I would like for them to start while they're little, because we all know learning a new language is easier for when you are injected when they're young, not when they're old, right? So I would pursue trying to get that Chinese language to be implemented in elementary. I understand we did many try. Maybe we could implement it as a mini unit, or like a what you call those elective course, right? It doesn't have to be a world language. You need 30 kids to be in there. Maybe it's an elective. Maybe that would have a easier or lower limitation or restriction on how many kids that you need to hold a class. So I think that's important, and I want to just emphasize that it is not just because many of us are already, but I think there are many people who are interested in Chinese, and it will be helpful to really the general public. So, and it's not just language; it's also culture. So, thank you.
Everyone, my name is Jessica Ren, and I live in 11 Blackburn Road. So I think I agree with everybody who just said that nowadays it's a culture of diversity. And if I work in a corporate, we also encourage diversity. So it's diversity of different cultures, it's also diversity of different interests. So as someone just said that there's a lot of IT families here in town, and I would also mention that there's a lot of biotech companies around this town as well. So I know a lot of high school students are very interested in biologies, or they take internships in some of the companies. But there are limited choice of AP course in the high school. And also, we already have like photo AP, we have different subjects. Why not expanding it to include more diversity of the curriculums? So I understand that it's a restriction of budget, it's a resource limitation, but I think it's a great idea to share the public resource with other school districts or even some of the other organizations in the area, so that people can get more opportunities. And as far as the AP Chinese, we know that a lot of families here send their kids. I send my kids to Livingston Chinese School for the weekends for already 8 years for now. And I used to live in Verona, and there's not many cultural Chinese families in Verona, but they do have a Chinese class since elementary school. And it's very well received by different cultural families. So I would think it's a great opportunity that we can invest in those kids who have been diligently pursued their interests in the past almost a decade. Some people studied 10 years of Chinese, but they missed the opportunity of having a test. So thank you everybody for considering this.
Good evening, my name is Lu Hong Gee, I live in 7 Plymouth Court. I have 2 questions regarding the language program. One is the long-promised world language review evaluation program. I just would like to get updates on this, because according to Ms. Stotler and Ms. Fox, that you already start to work on it, to create the survey in August. And we were told that the survey will be delivered by the end of September, but now it's almost at the end of October. So I would like to know when we can anticipate those in the mail for the survey. And the other question, other parents already mentioned a lot about AP Chinese. I just have like one thing to add on. I know a lot of parents, talk about this last year, and they were rejected by the school district because we don't have, the reason I think is because we don't have the AP Chinese in the district, and we don't have the resources to administrate the test. But I know we have a neighboring district, Berkeley Heights. They don't have Chinese AP also, but to provide the AP test for their residents. So is it possible that the board members can contact them and see what kind of resource they need to provide this kind of test? And what are the costs or whatever, associated with it? Maybe the parents are willing to chip in to let the children to have the test. That's it. Thank you very much.
My name is Han Yogi from 5 Greenberry Way on the hills. I want to talk about 3 things. First is a follow-up for the mass count discussion last board meeting. I want to express my thank you for the superintendent, assistant superintendent, also Mrs. Gray, for the help for some of the personal reply for supporting this program. Second thing I want to talk about was the kitchen that was brought up. I was aware of for the first time during last meeting. I liked one of the comments that from this gentleman about when we were reviewing some of the test scores. I want to make a narrative for this kitchen project as well. Is when we're looking at this project, this big spending. How are we scoring? Make a score of this project. Like, are we getting our school district closer to Princeton's and Milburn's? And those are the things that academic success. It's the single most important part of the school district. And how we evaluate not only for the school district but also like piecemeal per project as well. So I want as a resident, and I'm really interested in how this is related to that academic performance. From my understanding, this 9 potato put in the 8-pound bag, or students are still same students learning the same hours. It's also the same, the teachers. I don't really see maybe I'm naive on this, not dive deeper into it, but I'm not sure how you see when this project finishes and a few years later. How do we link, looking back at that point of this project, associated with the positive academic performance of the school district? So, my kids are in the middle school, and they are going to be, if this project proceeds, they are going to be hopefully seeing this association. I would like to, get more understanding. The last part was for the AP Chinese that was brought up by another, parents, and my kids are learning Chinese as well, and from their, time and weekends and the weekdays as well, they spend a lot of time learning those languages, and it's pretty, important to them is, by the end of their learning, they can, at least have some kind of certificate from their learning experience. And this AP test, just the test itself, seems to be something that relatively simple to do. And some of other parents suggested maybe we work with other school districts. And in the end, it helps the kids to have, a sense of accomplishment, and hopefully can attract some, other, students with different, ethnic background, and to learn about different culture. I'm supporting, if the school can, help dive into what other options are, and hopefully, the parents can pitch in some of the help as well. So those are the three things I want to talk about today.
Good evening, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, and board members. My name is Lee. I live in 80 Springhouse Lane. I was here during the last BOE meeting, and I also want to thank everyone for your help and support for the MSCOM's Club. 10 days ago, our WAM's Friday folder send the news to the parents and the community, saying this year our school is very excited to sponsor the MSCOM's team again, but more details will come in the end of October. I just want to know if there is any decision already made, and if there is any follow-up updates, please let us know, because Halloween is coming and the end of October is next week. Thank you. And the next question is about the financial committee report. In items 7 and 8, I heard about Chromebook. Is that, are we going to purchase more Chromebook for the schools? Because I do know many, the middle school and some elementary school students do not have Chromebook for each of the students, which is so out of my expectation. We were from Maryland. All the counties, all the schools, everything 7th grade. Sometimes from 1st grade, each student have a Chromebook. I talked to my friends in Livingston and Chatham and Melbourne. No one ever mentioned the students do not have a Chromebook in the classroom. And they never mentioned they have to exchange the rooms, the cards, and have so many burdens to have the Chromebooks for the students to use in the daily instruction time, which is such a burden to them. And it is a technology time, and we have to depend on lots of research online, and I don't understand why our school district cannot purchase Chromebook for each of the students. And this year, I do know our PTO received a request from teachers asking for 10 Chromebooks and a card. If our school district is going to purchase a Chromebook for each of the students, then our PTO may save the money for more other activities. Please let us know. Thank you. And another question, and also, I talked to a friend in Livingston. She said they used to use Chromebook, and this year they changed that to a fancy touchscreen laptop. I don't know how much less tax we pay than Livingston, but I'm sure our county do get the fundings from county and state. I hope those money could be spent on our students more directly. My next question is about the NJSLA report last time we got from the last meeting. Thank you for the report, and it's very informational, and I hope to see the comparison of our county, our Bernard Township Public Schools performance to Melbourne, Plansboro, Livingston, other top school districts performance. I hope that could be published sometimes in one of the BOE meeting. And also, I do look at the Melbourne part presentation of last year. There is more specifics in the reports, like in English language arts. They also show the progress and comparison of the students in reading literacy, reading information, reading vocabulary, writing expression, writing conventions. And in math, there is major contents, supporting content, reasoning, modeling. All those specifics can help us understand more about our strengths and weakness, and can help our school curriculum community and schools to improve the students' performance. I hope we can include those more detailed information in the next report. Thank you. And also, I want to...
Excuse me, we have about 1 minute to go.
Thank you. Also, I want to know if our school district can publish a map test report as a school report. The map test took place twice a year or 3 times a year in elementary school and mid school, high school. And in my previous school district, we have school reports showing the school's progress and the mean scores and the progress and the top scores and the range, so parents could easily understand their kids' performance among the grade, among the schoolmates, and can also understand how much the progress our school is making. And because I do know SLA or PARC is one of the tests not many states are taking, but MAP test is taken by more states, which is also a more reliable data for the teachers to understand the students' progress each year, since we took it at the beginning of the school year and also at the end of the school year. So I really want to know how much progress our school is making and our students is making. I hope that could be a very clear data to the parents. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Okay, at this point, I'll close public comment. Do you want to respond to a couple of them?
Okay, so I think there was a question about kind of sharing students with respect to courses and or programs. So we do have students that come to our district from other districts for the day for special education programs on a tuition basis. So those school districts pay our school district to send their students here for special education programs that they don't have in their district. I've never heard of such an arrangement for a specific one-off class like an AP course. As far as the question that came up from several folks with respect to what can we do about AP Chinese course offering and or making the AP tests available, that question's already been referred to the curriculum committee. So we'll be talking about that at the next meeting and reporting out in November on that conversation. With respect to students attending BT Connect meetings, we're asking the high school to work on that with the students, with our student rep here to try to get students to come to our Connect meetings. The question about the kitchen and how it relates to academic performance. So moving to a rotating drop schedule is what that kitchen is all about, being able to run a new schedule at Ridge High School and a unit lunch. The connection between academic performance and that kitchen, I wouldn't try to make. I would say that the master schedule change is a lot more about quality of life for the students and the staff. To make a direct connection to the kitchen and academic performance was probably inappropriate. With regard to the question about the finance committee and the agenda item that made reference to Chromebooks, that agenda item was about selling Chromebooks that had reached end of life. we try to get a little bit of value out of technology or other equipment in the district that has reached its end as far as usefulness is concerned in our district, and we put those types of articles up for what amounts to an auction type sale to try to get some value back from them as they expire. We don't have any plans currently to increase the fleet of Chromebooks. I know that as part of last year's budget, we did essentially replace the Chromebooks in their entirety. They came in over a period of months between last spring and this summer, so we had replaced our fleet of Chromebooks, which may expand the total number of Chromebooks in the district for a little while some of those older ones are still hanging on and we get a little bit of life out of them. We may have more Chromebooks than initially planned, but we're roughly at 2 to 1 when it comes to 2 students per technological device in our district. We're not 1 to 1, and I don't know of any plans to buy any fancy touchscreen laptops. There's lots that can be had with respect to looking at MAP scores, NJSLA scores, and we do quite a bit of that. We typically have reports multiple times during the year that share MAP score reports, NJSLA reports, and we did talk about the fact that when we get some information with respect to NJSLA scores, we could make some comparisons between other districts as that information becomes available.
Yeah, I was just asking Ms. Fox about the World Language Program evaluation, and I didn't hear that there was the survey going out right now, but it will be going out this year, is what I heard. Yeah, in curriculum minutes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember a date either, but this year, during the school year. Do you want to say something? Yeah.
I just want to add one thing about the question about the students and communicating about Bernard's BT Connect. There were students present representing the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at the Communication Council meeting, and they very energetically agreed to go out to their peer group attendance at those breakout sessions, or strand meetings, I should say. So hopefully that will happen, and then I believe in addition to that, there'll be communication through the school.
Okay, so now we're up to board forum. Does anyone have anything for board forum? Mr. Byrne?
I decided 3 years ago I was doing SAT reports on an annual basis, comparing our district with 27 other schools. And 3 years ago, when the ACT became more popular and the SAT fell off a little bit, I decided not to do it again. However, when we had the test report information a couple weeks back, and this is almost the end of my school board membership, I decided, gee, I'm going to do one last report. And I also found that while the ACT took a piece of Bridges' tests, it didn't take as many as I thought. I think we're still at the 70% range on SATs, so I might be off a little bit on that. But so anyway, I have report information, which I gave each one of you 2 copies of the 2 reports. I apologize to the public. I did not and have not the ability to make enough copies for everyone, and I don't have the ability to make slides, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. I'm going to attempt to explain what the numbers are. The first report I want to talk about is, it says unadjusted on the top, and it says it's a group of ridge scores from 1995-96 to 2017-18, and West Windsor, Plainsboro North and South, and there's 27 schools listed. Each one of them is accompanied by the ranking among the 27 schools, as well as math and verbal scores. They're the only ones that I really have and can talk about are the mean scores, the average. So another important thing, in 1995-96, they made at least the verbal test easier than it had been, and so the scores were expected to jump. So to make a long story short, in my later comparisons, I'm going to have adjusted numbers. These numbers here are not adjusted. These are the actual mean scores for each one of the 27 districts. I hope the top 20 schools in New Jersey are here. I am using what Will Dolman used years ago, 25, 30 years ago, and when he retired, I continued his program. So to make a long story short, I think the best schools are here. Now I want to go to the second report, and that's the one that has Ridge SAT history at the top. And it begins in 1965-66. Oh, wait a minute, I have another comment to make. Kristen Fox got me the numbers for the last 3 years for these 27 schools. Thank you very much. Oh my gosh, I could have never gotten them myself, and it is quite a chore. So to make a long story short, this report is really coming out of the administration office. So thank you, Kristen, for the assistance. Back on the scores. 65-66, the national score in math was 495, and Ridge had a 523 number. The delta, the difference between the two, was 28 points. And when I moved to 94-95, and that's about 30 years later, we still didn't have any adjustment. But then beginning in 95-96, you can see the actual national score, and then I have to adjust it. And then I get an adjusted score, and that's what I'm comparing to the previous scores. So it's the adjusted score that I have to track. In the case of verbal, the same thing is true. I have a national score, a Ridge score, and a Delta score. That's the difference. And I have adjustments for the ongoing years. If you'll turn the page, 2 pages. One is, this is the curve showing the Ridge score unadjusted and the national score unadjusted for math. So you can see that it jumps up a little bit in 95, 96. And also the last 3 years where the ACT took over, there's also a jump. Because some of the kids are not taking the SAT, and it would appear that the higher scores in the SAT resulted because some of the kids who went to the ACT weren't doing as well on the SAT as the main group. If you'll turn the page, you'll see the verbal numbers, and particularly in the case of the verbal test, they made it easier in 95, 96, and you see the numbers jump way up. Again, you see an ACT adjustment. The next page, and I don't want to dwell on those first few pages. The next page is the adjustment that tells you 95, 96, what the old test score was and what the new adjusted test should be to make it comparable to the past. I have 2 reference charts with an equal score in red, just as a reference line, and the black or the blue line, whatever it is, shows the difference between the revised score and the actual score. So the blue line is the adjustment, and it's very close to the 1 equals 1. But if you turn the page on verbal, you can see that there is an adjustment almost every year where the verbal test was made easier, and so therefore you have to take the verbal test numbers and reduce them to make them comparable to the past. Well, so now you go to the next page, and it shows the adjusted scores in math, national as well as Ridge, and the last 3 years there is a jump. But what's interesting on this chart, these are adjusted so that the test should be comparable, is that the Ridge scores have grown significantly when compared to the national scores. These are averages, but Ridge has actually increased significantly. And every year, and I think part of that is a better program in town and smarter people moving into town and a whole lot of other things. So that's math. When you turn the page on verbal, you say, oh my gosh, the gap, we got rid of that high jump and everything, but the gap doesn't really get much bigger. There's some growth of Ridge outdoing the national numbers, but the growth is not near as great. So I find that interesting. I don't have an explanation for that. In the last 3 years, the ACT has increased the Ridge scores. The last page is really the one I wanted to talk to, and that's showing the Ridge scores as well as the other scores for math and verbal, the mean scores, compared to one another. So the Milburn had the best score in math in 2017-18 at 682. West Windsor North was at 690. Tenafly was at 682. Princeton at 666. West Windsor South was 669. Montgomery was 670. And Ridge, number 7, was 663. I don't think we've been that low in the whole time I've been measuring, and you can go back, oh, well, okay, I call it low. It's a low number, it's actually high. We were 7th in the state. And let me tell you, it wasn't too many years ago we were in the mid and upper teens and even low 20s on this list. So that's quite an achievement. And even 3 years ago, I think we were 10, 11. So I'm very impressed with number 7. And I think these are the best schools, public schools in the state. And I think New Jersey is also ranked first in the nation as far as public schools go. So that's quite a thing. On the verbal side, and I would expect the verbal side to have been a little slower, but my gosh, it's the same thing. We're number 7. So both, when you add math and also verbal together, we come out 7th in the state. I'm very impressed. So Nick and everybody else on the staff, I think that's a great job. So those are my numbers, and once I ran them, I couldn't resist. I had to take 10 minutes at board forum to show you a great job. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. This is a little annual tradition, but this is a really nice one, right? This is good results, right? Okay. Does anyone else have anything for board forum? No?
Oh, actually, could I have something for board forum?
Sure.
I've never asked for board forum before. But here we are at the Williams Middle School, and I just wanted to say that I attended the Rutgers football game on Saturday, and at halftime of the Rutgers football game, the Williams band performed with the Rutgers University Marching Band at halftime. They did a terrific job. I did my best at trying to film some of it, but I was sitting on the opposite side. So then I tried filming the scoreboard, so I'll share this. I'll share the terrible video with anybody that wants to see it. And then the other thing I wanted to add is that Rutgers actually won the game. So I was going to just ask if it's possible to have the Williams band to come back to every game. That's all.
They were actually specially selected for that. They're the very first group who's going to be doing that as a special initiative. That's a joint, sorry, this is my professional thing, is a joint venture with enrollment and marching band and athletics at Rutgers, place I work. And they were specially chosen this year. Next year they're going to have a competition for middle school bands to learn the fight song, and so they were the first ones to get chosen. I had nothing to do with that choice. Okay. Anything else for board forum? Okay.
Some of us went down to Atlantic City for the New Jersey School Boards thing, and the last presentation on the day that I was there on Wednesday, a few of us went to a topic called The Elephants in the Room, which was a odd way to name it because everything else was like social emotional learning in 3rd grade and how to have a green school, so very descriptive. So the Elephants in the Room was given by the superintendent from Chatham, superintendent from West Morris, right? And then one of the board members from, the board president from Chatham. So one of the things that they were talking about, the superintendents, was how, you know, they've implemented different ideas in their schedules for social and emotional learning and stress and things like that to kind of reflect what's going on in schools and start times and things like that. And I just, walking out of it, I couldn't help but like look back on my own high school experience and realize how much things are changing. So I feel like so fast. Maybe so, I don't know, but like in Chatham and you know, they got rid of midterms. They don't have, they're thinking about getting rid of finals. They might not have marking periods anymore. And this seemed to be a topic that was being discussed amongst all of the schools, and we're obviously discussing most of these things too, so I thought it was just really interesting. West Morris had moved the school start into August to give the kids an earlier dismissal in June. And then they all had, so topics, elephants in the room were the big topics that all the school boards are facing, start times and things like that. I just thought it was a really, really interesting discussion, and it seems to be that everybody's kind of coalescing on the same issues. But yeah, doing away with finals, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And then when I was listening to that, I was thinking, you know, but that's not how colleges operate. They have final exams. I mean, so then while I was thinking this, the superintendent from Chatham was like, I've heard the argument about colleges, but that doesn't hold any water. And so he kind of diffused the thing I was thinking about right on the spot. So I just thought it was really interesting discussion. I didn't know if anybody else took away any other little tidbits from it, but I thought it was a good panel.
Yeah, I was there. It was good. I liked how he presented, the Chatham superintendent presented some really interesting stuff that Kristen, I'm sure, you know, picked up on, like ways to explain to parents the different paths that students can take through their high school career and end up in the same place, you know, than someone else. And so like the frenzy of trying to take all honors classes like at a certain age and stuff, you know, he showed like actually it's often better to start off slower and add as you go along than to start off with too much on your plate, get all stressed out and do mediocre and everything you're trying to do. So it made me think of a lot of students, you know, in our district who are trying to take on so much, you know what I mean? And that's hence why they're so tired and stressed, and they'd be better off picking a couple of things they're passionate about, you know what I mean? And I know in college admissions that's what they say they're looking for, is a student who's really passionate about something, as opposed to someone that's read themselves everywhere, right?
The keywords now are commitment to things rather than being the, you know, they want a well-rounded class, not necessarily completely well-rounded students.
So anyway, there was a lot of stuff for further discussion during all of our initiatives. Anyone else have anything?
I just want to put a plug in for all of our district teachers, because we went to some workshops and we would sit there, the one in particular was the arts integration in the classroom with using art and music, and we sat there and there are teachers and administrators and people sitting there, and this is all novel to them, like, oh, this is a great idea. And we're like, okay, we've been doing this for years. So kudos to our teachers. We have amazing teachers in our district.
I wanted to say something about the addition, about the cafeteria, like that we're building, and the project that we're doing. And I'm going to stress again that, number one, I think that the funds couldn't be used for anything but something like that. Is that correct? Capital projects. So I just wanted to stress that, number one. Number two, that no matter, even if our, they were talking about like, make it smaller, but even if we had a couple less students, we still needed the space. We still need the space for everything we want to do. And if you don't have a kid in the high school now, the lunch is crazy. It's like insane. And we need, and it will benefit all students, and it will help with, if you're not rushing through lunch and you have enough space for everybody, it makes it more relaxing and kids will do better in school. And, we talk about social emotional, it helps academics. So having enough space, having enough food for everybody, having all that is beneficial to their academic as well, because you're not like, stressing over it. You're not, it makes it easier. And that's what we're trying to do with this whole thing. And, you have to look at the end game and not like what's happening right now, but, in the future, this is going to be better for kids academically, socially, emotionally, always. So I think that you have to think about it that way and not look at like, oh, we're spending this money on this and then it's going to harm less students. It's going to benefit everybody, and even with a couple less students, it will still benefit everybody.
I just want to piggyback on what Jen was saying and add that when you talk about interest in additional courses, whatever they might be, they have to be held in a space, and we don't have space. So any conversations around additional electives or additional core courses does necessitate having a space for it. Obviously, there might be a reduced enrollment in one course or another, but guaranteeing a reduction in one specific area just because you offer more courses is not particularly likely. So I think it's important to keep in mind that we are kind of gridlocked with space, especially as we move to a new master schedule. And so an opportunity to add something requires a space to do it in.
Anyone else? We have a motion for adjournment. Linda and Jen Corning, all in favor?